guys, I hope you're having a wonderful day. I am here at Fort Canning Park, and yes, I have decided to do the battle box. In the past, when I came here with Alex or with Shaq or whoever, I skipped the battle box simply because they don't allow filming inside, and also because you gotta pay. And I was like, if I'm paying and I can't film, then what's the point? However, I decided that I'm curious and I wanted to see the battle box for myself. So today, I don't know how much I'm able to show you guys, but I'm gonna experience the battle box at Fort Canning Park for myself. And because, you know, the last couple of museums that I went, war museums that I went, I can't film, so I'm kind of used to it. So we'll see what I do with this video. Ah, the battle box ticketing. All right, I think here's where I get the ticket. Do I get a ticket here for the battle box? In front, turn left. Okay. Yeah, in front, turn left. Visitor center. All right. Let's see. I'm pretty sure no filming is allowed inside, but here it's okay. Battle box, visitor center. Check in. Let's go in. I want to get a ticket for the battle box.
Alright, just to let you know.
No filming inside.
Huh?
No filming
Yes,
inside.
that's correct. No
Photos?
Nope.
Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
So I can't
It's outside.
I can't document my trip here.
Unfortunately. Only at the entrance of the bar.
Yeah, okay. So I just stepped out of the visitor center, got my ticket. A ticket is 20 bucks for local. They gave me a little map, so it looks quite big inside. Yeah, pretty huge. Lots of section inside. All right. It's weird to be on a tour. Okay. Wow, that was overwhelming. A lot to take in. So I figured that since I'm not allowed to film inside, and since I'm not allowed to take any pictures at the battle box, I will just have to tell you what I've learned. What I've learned throughout my whole experience visiting the Ford factory, you know, the Fort Siloso, everything. I mean, you gotta look at it as the battle box kinda completes all the historical war sites I've been. And coming to the battle box today, there are things that I've learned. There are some things that I thought I knew, but it was wrong. There are some things that I felt that happened this way, but actually it happens that way, if that makes sense. So the battle box is the main command center the British, the Allied forces have in World War II that manages all the military in the Malaya. Malaya means Singapore and Malaysia. I would put it as it's the HQ, the headquarters. Now going down inside the battle box, it's kinda eerie. It was dark, it was 3 floors all the way down underground, and well, there's air conditioning now, but in the past, there was no air condition. Right now, the battle box is now converted into a museum. So there are lots of like photos and dates and history and the plannings. Lots of stuff. Yeah, I would say there were lots of stuff inside. There was one part where they have the map of Singapore and Malaysia, and they were planning all the air force, how much troops they're sending. And going down to the battle box, it was all the same. It was like the same tunnels that I've been through, whether it's abandoned or at Fort Siloso, they look the same. The layout is just like straight corridor and rooms left and right. How do you go up? Here.
Sit.
This is total darkness.
But it was like slow.
Is it like some ventilation thing here?
No, the underground thing.
Underground.
Yeah.
This one is more well kept and it's painted white. But imagine in the past, this is not white. They wouldn't have painted this. And there's so much echo here. I got a fog. See anything, Shaq? Whoa! What is this place? How deep does this go, Shaq?
We are coming to the end.
You're going too fast. When I went down, the first thing I checked was my phone. There was no signal. Yes, not that I need my phone, but I just wanted you to see how deep it was, and it's supposed to be a bomb shelter, I guess. Now, the important guy, the name that you should know is Lieutenant General Arthur Ernest Percival. Yeah. We'll just call him Percival from now on. Percival is the key guy, the main guy that controls everything. However, the decision that was made to surrender happened at the battle box. It was a meeting, and guess what? It only took 15 minutes to decide. 15 minutes in the meeting to decide whether to surrender Singapore or not. So what happens is that after they have decided to surrender at the battle box, they walk or march all the way to the Ford factory, and that's where the official surrender took place. So it is in this particular room that the British surrender Singapore to the Japanese. On 15 February 1942, in this very room. It was then the Ford Motors factory boardroom. Now what I learned is that Percival didn't want to surrender. But during the meeting, his commanding officers, they're like, we have to. They convinced him to surrender. So there were a couple of stuff that I learned in the battle box. So we all know that the Japanese were coming from the north, through Malaysia, all the way down, all the way south. Oh my god, you guys, this is wow. This is the map of Singapore, and this is the plan of the Japanese of where they come and attack us. And the Japanese were coming in fast. They were really, really fast. In World War II, speed was everything. Even the Germans, they had technology where their tanks were really, really fast, and all their machineries, even their soldiers, they took pills, like steroids. Now here's the thing. What I thought is that the Japanese came down and invaded Singapore with just bicycles. We saw those bicycles in the museum that I went. If you guys didn't know how Singapore was taken over, that's how the Japanese came into Singapore. In actual fact, it's not true. They didn't just came down with bicycles. They came down with tanks. Percival requested tanks from the Allied, and their excuse was like, oh, you guys do not need tanks because Malaysia is like jungle and forest, and the tanks are too big and it wouldn't do any good. The Japanese, however, they had miniature tanks, small tanks, which could fit like 2 to 3 people in that tank. Wow, look at the tank. And this is the time where the Japanese invade Singapore. Yeah. Now these tanks could maneuver through all the trees and the forests, and guess what? They have 250 of these tanks. Singapore, however, we have 0 tanks. Yeah, 0. So that kind of answers my question when I was at the Ford factory, when I was saying, now the humiliating thing is that there is 130,000 British troops who surrendered to just 60,000 Japanese troops. I thought they always say strength in numbers. What happened to strength in numbers? Yes, we did have more soldiers. However, we did not have any tanks. None. 0. So another myth that I thought was real is that all our guns are facing the south, right? We were preparing for a sea invasion or attacks from the sea. And look at what Shaq did. He light up the whole cannon.
The Japan did not come to Singapore using battleships. They cycle in. Then the British for designing this. You think they come by the sea? You think they come by the sea?
And then we thought like all our guns were pointing outwards to sea, but because they came from the north, we can't rotate the guns and point them to land. Well, theoretically speaking, we can. But the problem wasn't about where the guns were pointing. The problem was the ammunition. Now the ammunition that we have on the south, like Fort Siloso, they were armor-piercing caps, which is probably great for taking down ships. And ammunition to take down infantry requires high explosive. Now imagine if you're pointing the guns to the infantry that's charging at you, and instead of using high explosive, you're using armor-piercing caps, which is not gonna do much. So myth debunk. It wasn't the gun placement, it was the wrong ammunition that we have. And as you guys know, the Japanese just keep coming down, invading all the way to the south. They passed by Pasir Panjang, there was a big battle over there. They went to Bukit Chandu, and that's where we tried to hold our grounds. Eventually, the Japanese still managed to take over Pasir Panjang. Now, by then, they have already invaded most part of Singapore, including 3 of our main reservoirs. See, Singapore, we are always shortage of water. Problem is always water. In Singapore, in the past, what happens is that we used to import our waters. Well, I think we still do. We still get our waters from Malaysia, but we were very reliant on Malaysia's water. That's how bad it is because we don't have our own water. Today, Singapore, we have 17 reservoirs. Now in the batter box, what they all thought is that the Japanese have already taken 3 of our reservoirs and they have cut off our supply. But in actual fact, they didn't really cut off our water supplies. It was because of all the bombing that damages the pipes. So as you can see, there was shortage of water, which is the most important, which is always Singapore's problem. And then of course there's a shortage of food supply, which finally led to Percival deciding that we should surrender to the Japanese. Wow. I feel like why the Battle Box was a more exclusive war historical site. They do give a lot more information and a lot more that you could learn, I guess. Going to the Battle Box today, it kind of completes all the historical site that I've been through, all the war historical site. And I guess it makes sense. It brings everything to one full circle. Now we understand World War II history in Singapore. Partially. Again, I want to emphasize that I'm no historian, but it's good. It's good to know a bit of the basics. That we didn't just point our guns in the wrong direction. When you come here and you see the amount of defense that's set up over here, man, if the Japanese would come here, we would really give them a big fight. It's really a shame that we never give the Japanese a fight. Because, I mean, come on, look. The amount of cannons set up at Fort Siloso is crazy. It's more than any forts in Singapore. Because if they were to come here, they would have hell from us, right?
If they came by the sea, of course.
If they did, yeah? Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's vlog. And I will see you in the next one. You guys keep smiling. See ya! It's intriguing. War history. I'll be honest with you. If I could, I would go to Germany. I would go to France, I would go to all around the world. I will go to Pearl Harbor and just visit all the historical war sites. If I could. I'm just saying, I wouldn't mind to see in the past the battles that take place on that land or ground that you're standing on. Man. I'll be honest with you. When I went to the battle box and they say no video, I understand. But when they say no photos as well, I'm like, oh damn. How am I gonna complete this vlog? Then I realized that, you know what? I've been through a lot of historical sites. I've been through a lot of the forts in Singapore. And I figured that I could show you some of my old vlogs and then narrate at the same time. Well, when there's a will, there's a way to complete the vlog. Yay! I'm glad it's done.